2017, I was blessed to address the world from the most important platform in all of America, Mosque Mariam, the headquarters mosque of the Nation of Islam here in the city of Chicago. On that day, I delivered a lecture, The Chemical Feminization of the Black Man. It was on that day that, during the course of my remarks, I said something that has, in many ways, defined my life since that day. It was on that day that you first heard from your brother that weed feminizes the black man. These were the words that I used on that day. By the time night fell on that day, the blogs had jumped all over it and me, but they presented or misrepresented my words to the world as Minister Wesley Muhammad says medical weed makes the black man gay. I never said that. Those were not my words. But from that day to this, there has been enormous reaction to me, to what I allegedly said, and to what I do say. The reaction was on 10. We have been mocked. We have been summarily dismissed. Some of you have said, Brother Dr. Wesley has always done great scholarship. I got his book, the Book of God, and his demonstration of the truth of the black man as God, his academic demonstration of the truth of the black man as God is unparalleled. How is it that he has fallen off today? How is it that with this subject he is so scientifically flawed, so intellectually irresponsible, that he would talk bad about our weed? And so the outcry, the reaction to what Allah has shown us, because the pot plot, as we are and have been demonstrating, the pot plot, Allah blessed us to expose it. There were, of course, many who advocated against the use of marijuana by black people. There were many who pointed out the ill effects of marijuana use, especially today's marijuana. However, Allah gave it to us to see and to expose the pot plot, which is the government's plot to deliberately weaponize marijuana against black people, the aim of which is pacification and feminization. But the pushback has been tremendous. We have been mocked, we have been insulted, but I did not respond to the mockery. I do not or did not respond to the insults. I did not respond to the summary dismissal of what Allah has shown us. But today, dear family, we're responding. I stayed off the grid all of this time, reading the comments, even on my page. I let you come on my personal page and mock and insult, and I don't respond. I see you, I read it, I reflect on your rejection of what we presented of truth, but I did not respond. I remained quiet. But today, we are responding. How, Brother Dr. Wesley, are you responding to the mockery of what Allah has shown you of the pot plot? How, Brother Dr. Wesley, are you responding to the summary dismissal of what Allah has shown you of the weaponization of weed against black people? How am I responding? I'm responding with 800 page tome. What is a tome? A tome is a large or heavy scholarly book. This is large. This is heavy. This is a scholarly book. And the most important figure is not the 800 pages, but the 2,000 footnotes. So our response today of the mock making, our response today of or to the summary dismissals, our response is in 800 pages and 2,000 footnotes. Now, you may ask, Brother Dr. Wesley, with bookstores closing down, especially black bookstores, they are becoming extinct like the dinosaurs, with black people becoming less and less inclined to read in an era of YouTube, where it's much easier and much more convenient to watch a documentary or a lecture and get knowledge and information, and that is or has become the preferred route of knowledge acquisition, with Black people reading less, and the books that Black people are availing themselves to, they consistently get thinner and thinner and thinner. How is it that you have the nerve in 2020 to drop a 800-page book on the people? I share your astonishment, dear family. I promise you I do, because I never sat down to write a 100-page book. I could never get my mind in sync with writing an 800-page book. Never. That's not how this book came about. Over 4 years, this book, Understanding the Assault on a Black Man, Volume 2, The Pot Plot, Marijuana, Hip Hop, and the Scientific Assault on Black America. The book developed something like the mothership. The mothership, you know, we are taught, the scientists who built the mothership, it was teams of builders who worked on different parts of the mothership, and the different teams worked independently on their parts of the mothership, and none of those teams knew what the other team was building, and none of the teams knew how what they were building fit into a larger construction. Well, that's sort of how this book came out of me. I wrote and focused on different projects, independent projects, not knowing what the final product will look like. We finished the last project, which is in the book as the final chapter. The last project of this 4-year process is the report that we just published, How to Kill a God, the murder of Michael Jackson and its message for hip hop and Black America. See, so over the course of these last 4 years, we've completed projects. It was only when I put all of them together, all of the projects together, and I said, whoa, 800 pages. And my jaw dropped, as I'm sure yours did when you saw 800 pages. I asked myself, how could an 800-page book come from me? The thought of writing an 800-page book is an obscenity to me. So how is it that I am here with an 800-page book now? And then it dawned on me, dear family. I sat back and I realized what I had. I realized what Allah has blessed us to produce with this 800-page book. I realized that this 800-page book will inevitably be the proverbial 800-pound gorilla in the room. What do you mean, Brother Dr. Wesley? This book, this tome, this 800-page tome that you're dropping on the people's head will be the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Don't you mean elephant in the room? No, I do not. $800-pound gorilla in the room is what they call a blended idiom. It's two distinct idioms brought together, making a specific point. The two idioms brought together here is one, the idiom of the 800-pound gorilla. That idiom comes from the riddle. The question is asked, where does an 800-pound gorilla sleep? The answer is anywhere it wants. The idiom of the proverbial 800-pound gorilla refers to someone or something that is so large, so powerful, that it lives by its own set of rules. It can act without regard for others or the law. An 800-pound gorilla acts with no regard to law. So an 800-pound gorilla can sleep wherever it wants. That's the one idiom. The other idiom, of course, is that of the elephant in the room, which refers to an obvious truth that no one is addressing. That elephant in the room imposing itself on everybody, but no one is addressing it. The blended idiom of the 800-pound gorilla in the room refers to the proverbial gorilla, 800-pound gorilla, as a powerful, imposing truth, overbearing, unbeatable truth in the room that cannot be ignored. Cannot be ignored. The 800-pound gorilla in the room. So, now after mocking your brother, summarily dismissing your brother, now the 800-pound gorilla has entered the room. And so I suspect, dear family, from this point forward, you cannot have conversations about marijuana and black people without reckoning with what we have presented. you now have to reckon with not just the 800 pages, but you now have to reckon with the 2,000 footnotes that this 800-pound gorilla brings with him as he enters the room. It was and is often said that Brother Wesley needs to stick with religious studies. He is no pharmacologist. He should not be pontificating or speaking on cannabis. He is not a qualified scientist to do so. I don't argue with you, but what I did was bring the qualified scientist to the witness stand, so you now have to reckon with the qualified scientist. You have to impeach the testimony of the qualified experts if you want to now dismiss what Allah has shown us of the pot plot. Again, how is it, Brother Wesley, you are claiming that your book, all 800 pages of it, on the weaponization of weed and the weaponization of hip hop, how is it you claim that that is a vindication of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the teachings of the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan? I've never encountered such talk from them. Well, you need to acquaint yourself a little better with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and acquaint yourself a little better with the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan. Is all 800 pages about marijuana and hip hop, Brother Dr. Wesley? No, it is not. It is not. But the huge portions about marijuana and hip hop, the weaponization of marijuana and the weaponization of hip hop, are put in their broader context of the scientific assault on Black America. Because many of you who dismiss us, many of you who mock us, you say things like, this is what you say. You say things like, that food we are eating is more damaging than marijuana. Why don't you, Brother Dr. Wesley, talk about the food we're eating? And so, as you see from the table of contents that we released today, we have a whole section on the scientific weaponization of the food that we eat. So, the pot plot, we anchor it organically in the broader scientific assault on Black America. And this scientific assault on Black America, this testosterone conspiracy and estrogen assault that the pot plot is just an aspect of. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad warned us about it himself. When you read the table of contents, you see that the various parts we document the weaponization of the air that we breathe. We document the weaponization of the water and the food that we eat. We document the weaponization of the drugs that we recreationally partake of. We document the weaponization of the hip hop and the music that we enjoy. I wanted to share with us how it is your brother has the nerve to drop an 800-pound monument on the heads of the people. Now I'm going to say this. Everyone I know advised me against publishing this 800-page book. They said that it makes no sense economically. You can break that big book up into multiple books, and which will be multiple revenue sources rather than one revenue source. I was told or reminded that the trend today is to read less. And when we do read, we read smaller. So, if you're going to write, Brother Wesley, write thinner books. Black people, this generation of millennials and Gen Z, they don't have the attention span. Write a small book and make a video. While I respect all of that counsel, and I know that you all accurately describe the current reality, this is my way. This 800-page, 2,000-footnote book is my way of giving the finger to all of those trends. This is my dignified way of giving the finger to all of those noted trends. I am allowing myself to drop a 800-page book in a climate that resists reading. This is my manifesto of sorts to say that I totally reject all of the current trends. People want to do black intellectuality solely through videos, more watching, less reading. This is my way of giving that trend the finger. I am disappointed, one might say disgusted, with where black intellectuality has sunk to. I'm very disgusted by it. I'm disgusted by what black scholarship has degenerated to. True scholarship is done with a pen or pencil. It's pencil, but you know what? You get the point. True scholarship is not done with the camera on your iPhone, the product of which you upload on YouTube. True scholarship is done with a pen. True scholarship requires you write something. You write your claims out so that we can read it, and you cite the sources so we can track those sources down to verify your claims. That's how scholarship is done. Putting out a video waxing philosophic, waxing exotic. That ain't scholarship. That's what black scholarship has degenerated to. And I forcefully and even rudely reject that trend. What you don't know, family, is this is what the impasse between myself and Mr. Paul Guthrie was. You need to know that. The reason no debate and then dialogue, the reason it never happened, because in our correspondence, Mr. Paul Guthrie and I, Mr. Paul Guthrie had made some very controversial claims about Master Fard Muhammad. And that is fine. We had been in conversation to have a public discussion about his claims. Master Fard Muhammad, Mr. Paul Guthrie, is an author. He wrote in the past, a great scholarly work entitled The Making of the White Man. And my proposition to Mr. Guthrie then was, submit your claims to writing. You're a writer who wrote a great scholarly work in the past. Submit your claims about Master Fard Muhammad. Submit them in writing and give the sources that can be vetted. And I too will submit my claims to writing with sources that could be vetted. And then we vet each other's sources and then come before the public and discuss his claims and my claims about his claims. This was an impasse. Mr. Paul Guthrie never wanted to submit his claims to true scholarly protocol and procedure. He never wanted to reduce his claims to writing so that we can check his sources. He never wanted to do that. Instead, he makes videos. And the videos are effective because that's where black scholarship and black intellectuality has degenerated to. So, this is my way of giving a finger to all of the current trends that marginalize reading, all of the current trends that marginalize written scholarship. This is my way of giving a finger to the trends that result in the closing of black bookstores and the closing of bookstores in general, in social media. It's all about numbers. Well, I got a number for you. 800. If you notice, I use social media while Instagram is for vanity purposes. And don't get me wrong, you examine my IG page and you'll see some vanity going on too. But you also will notice something. I drop academic reports on Instagram. I use Instagram to drop out. Allah bless me to find a way to put reports on Instagram. Now, those reports will never get the Instagram influencer numbers, but that's okay. I got my own big number, 800, but the bigger number, 2,000. 2,000 footnotes in an 800-page tome. And so I pray that we are reestablishing the standard of black intellectuality. I pray that we are helping to reestablish the standard of black scholarship by producing this 800-pound gorilla and sending him into the room. And so I close on that. All who have mocked us when we spoke of, when we exposed the pot plot, when we exposed that, the government has weaponized our weed. The current legalization movement in America is a deadly trick on black people. Tricking black people into availing ourselves to weaponized weed to pacify us, to feminize the black man and masculinize the black woman. This book, the difference between volume 2 and volume 1 is whereas volume 1 focuses on the assault on the black man, volume 2 focuses on the scientific assault on the black man, the black woman, and the black child. We document, sister, the scientific assault on you and your babies. Now that it's here, you who reject what we have exposed of the pot plot, the onus is now on you. You cannot dismiss us summarily any longer. You have to avail yourselves of the research, of the data, and impeach the data that we have provided. You must impeach the data and the documentation that we have provided, or you are going to have to accept what we have exposed of the pot plot. The 800-pound gorilla is already in the room. You can't keep him out. Now that he is in the room, you and we have to deal with this 800-pound gorilla in the room. Every conversation about marijuana today, I believe eventually this tome will be a shadow over every conversation about marijuana and black people in 2020 and beyond.